Guys, if you look at the photo on the left and then you look at the photo on the right and you say, I'd like that type of transformation. I kind of look like the guy on the left and I want to look like the guy on the right. And you want to do it in under 90 days, this video, I'm going to show you exactly how you do that. Specifically, I'm going to be showing you how you can shed up to 30 pounds of fat to unleash your most attractive, confident, and energetic self in as little as 90 days using the Bulletproof Body Method. Now, specifically in this video, I'm going to be showing you how my client Brendan lost 23 pounds of fat to go from the guy on the left to the guy flexing on you guys on the right, right? It's a step-by-step guide. I'm going to show you how we helped him. And by you watching, you're going to know the steps that you can apply in your own life using the Bulletproof Body Method to unleash your most attractive, confident, and energetic self, right? Brendan went from this to this in 90 days. So here's my promise. If you sit down, if you close the goddamn door, put your phone on Do Not Disturb, get ready to take notes, and pay attention, in 20 minutes, you can change the rest of your life. All right? Deal? Deal? All right, let's get to it. Here's how to shed 30 pounds of fat, how you build a strong athletic physique to unleash your most attractive, confident, and energetic self in as little as 90 days using the Bulletproof Body Method, and learn how to keep it off forever without exercising more than 3 hours a week, without sacrificing your favorite foods, and without gaining the weight back ever again. We're creating a lifestyle. We're not doing a diet. And in the process, how we refund you if it doesn't work. So first of all, who's this for? This is for my dudes out there, 25 and up, skinny fat or chubby, just generally unhappy with your physique. I'm talking to you top performers out there, guys that know you're meant for more and you have a lot to show for it in life. But when you look at this belly, you're not happy. And so what it's doing is it's impacting your attractiveness, your confidence, and your energy. So pay attention. The method I'm about to teach you is designed for those of you that are up to a lot, that are crushing it in life, and in the process, you pay the price of time. You don't got a lot of it. So if you want to transform your life, I designed the Bulletproof Body Method to seamlessly integrate into your already busy lifestyle. It's not about adding more, fitting in. That's stupid. It's about opening up, optimizing, and getting more out of life doing less. Okay? So we're going to break it down into 4 different phases. There's a tuning phase. I'm not going to start fat loss, and we're not going to build muscle like everyone else says if we don't dial in your schedule. If we don't dial in your mindset and get you aligned with the goal, well, then we're just adding mud on top of some shit cake. So we're going to maximize the results with as little time as possible. Then we'll lose the fat. Then we'll build the muscle using the same exact workouts that movie stars use for Hollywood movies. And then we keep it sealed as a lifestyle. All right, you with me? Making sense so far? All right, a little bit about me. I spent 12 years obsessed with sculpting the most amazing bodies, and I love a good challenge. I'm just that kind of guy. So recently, no one seems to have time. Have you guys noticed? So when you do that with no time, that's a fun problem. Some fun facts about me. You guys might have known me. I'm on Airac's YouTube channel. I used to be. I also competed in a viral dating show against 99 other girls. None other guys. For one girl's heart, and your boy won, obviously. Don't watch that video till after this video, all right? You can watch it after. And also, I was on a game show with Jimmy Fallon and John Hamm. That was one of the craziest experiences of my life. And lastly, most recently, I was featured on a business panel with Tony Robbins' business partner, #1 marketer in the world, Dean Graziosi, speaking in front of thousands of entrepreneurs about what I'm telling you today. Bring in balance to your life so you can perform at a high level for the next 20, 30, 40 years. Have confidence, have energy back in your life. And I'm not saying these things to brag, all right? I'm saying these things to remind you that when you change your body, you change your life. You already know this. Someone walks in a room, you already know the aura someone that's mastered their body brings. There's a certain calmness to them. There's a certain level of presence, right? There's something magical about walking in a room and your energy shows who you are more than what you got to do when you speak, because your body's your resume, right? Now, if you know what that's like, but you don't have that, It's because you're not happy with where you're at. And so when you're not happy with yourself, you play small, you're quiet, because you're worried that if you get too much attention and people see who you really are, they're going to tear you apart. There's lions out there. There's alpha dogs. This is how our brains are wired. This is just how it works. And when you don't feel like a threat, you feel like prey. And so you're either the lion or you're the little elk. You're the Bambi. And this is about how do we take you to become the threat, the danger, the force of reckoning in your life again. Take back that control. And when you do that, well, then attention is something that is not something to be scared of. You want to be on stage. You want to be on stage. You want to be powerful. That's your life, baby. But before I was a coach, I had my own set of challenges. I was actually a very skinny teen. All right. I had the worst genetics. I was social around the boys. When a girl came around, I would almost shit my pants. Right. I wore a wetsuit at the beach because I had so much back knee. I was embarrassed. I was also embarrassed how bony I looked. I was skinny. And I was also the last guy in my high school to ever kiss a girl. So my friends, they would end arguments with me, always saying, well, hey, at least I kissed a girl. So you can imagine before the first day of college, I was sick. I was fed up. I made a promise to myself. I'm going to redefine myself no matter what it takes. And in the process, guess what happened? I failed many, 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 many times, right? In my journey, I did terrible bulks. They got me super fat. And then I did huge, horrendous cuts where I lost all the muscle I spent years building. I did cardio, thinking that that would work, only to end up gaining weight after 6 months. I eliminated entire food groups, foods I loved. I took them out and I suffered in the name of progress, only to lose all the muscle I built. And my life really changed when I found myself in an emergency room one day right next to my best friend who was unconscious with my tooth through my lip because I was too weak to protect my best friend from getting jumped. There were times I lost control of my entire life. When I was building my career as a young boy becoming a man, and I regressed into the worst shape of my life. At times I felt like I wasted years of my life, feeling like I was doing it all wrong. To the point that I considered giving up on the dream that I promised myself. Believe me, you don't want to go through this. I made so many mistakes, and I did those so you don't have to. That's what I realize now. I transformed my body again and again and again, and every mistake that I made actually taught me something about the process. It taught me something about myself. It taught me something about the code. And eventually I cracked it. I found the secret. And in my final transformation, I created a system that made getting in shape so easy. A system that was so flexible, it allowed you to build your dream body without sacrificing your foods, without suffering endless hours in the gym, being exhausted, and most importantly, without ever gaining the weight back ever again. When you apply this system into your life, you're bulletproof. That's why I took this photo. Because you can have it all, baby. You can have it all. One big middle finger out to all the fad diets, am I right? The Bulletproof Body Method is my own unique system through trial and error of over a decade, coaching men, the best high performers of life, show them how to get the most athletic physique possible and how to keep it forever, right? Through my decade of trial and error, I developed the Bulletproof Body System to get hundreds of dudes absolutely shredded, and now I'm going to break it down for all of you. But what if I'm too old? My dad's 65. That is a bunch of bullshit. All right? My dad can do more pull-ups than your high school bully. He's a beast. Saying you're too old is like saying, I'm too old to benefit from feeling healthier, more confident, and more energetic. Sounds a bit silly, doesn't it? Sounds like a dead man walking. You're excited about the future of your life? The older you become, the more your health matters. Favorite quote of my whole life. No man has the right to be an amateur in the matter of physical training. It is a shame for a man to grow old without seeing the beauty and the strength of which his body is capable. Do not go down without knowing what's your potential. Now, Brendan's one of my favorite examples because obviously we all agree he looks amazing, but he's also busier than you. He's a CTO of 2 different companies, very active social life, travels all the time, very active dating life, owns 2 different companies, and he's been able to keep this 9 months after finishing the Bulletproof Body program. So this isn't just a quick fix. This was a lifestyle for him. Now, let's take a look at his schedule, because you might be thinking, oh, how busy is he? Look, if he did it, you guys watching can 100% do it the same. Once again, before, after. All right? I'm going to show you how he started looking amazing. I'm going to tell you the stories of how he started getting compliments from everyone, his friends, his family, his coworkers. I'm going to show you how he lost 23 pounds of fat in 90 days and packing on a couple pounds of muscle in the process. He not only looks amazing, his life feels amazing. All right? Now, I want to clarify something. I'm not going to read this table. It's too long, but I'll tell you who this is not for. So you can pause the video and you can leave and continue on with your life. If you want to keep staying in a low energy state, if you want to let your ego keep running the show, if you want to keep doing it on your own, trying the newest fad diet, even though you're not getting results, let me give you the gift of keep doing it. See you later. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing again and again and expecting a different outcome. But if you're someone that's tried everything and you still don't see progress, but you haven't given up, there's a reason you're watching this video. If you're sick of having low energy, feeling out of shape, and you just want to bring some simplicity in your life. If you have at least 15, 25, 40 pounds of fat you want to lose and you never want to gain it back. If you want to take back control of your life again and you want to remember how amazing life once was and can be when you're your most attractive, confident, and energetic self, and you know deep down inside, you are so far away from your potential. If you refuse to believe that this is life, then you're in the right spot, because I'm about to tell you how. Here's the truth. Getting shredded is not about doing more. It's about focusing on the few things that actually work for your life. I see too many people taking someone else's lifestyle and overcomplicating it and then fitting that into their life and then wondering why it never works. But when you find the few things that you can fit into your life to get you on autopilot progress, where you're melting fat without even thinking about it, because it's just integrated with the type of person you are, with the foods you like, and with the schedule you have, getting in shape's effortless. And in the process, when you get results that are so hard to come by so easily, you start to fall in love with the gym again. You start to love how you feel, how you're lifting weights, your strength. Thing is, most guys don't know how to do that, because most guys love to do it on their own. That's what I did. I took 10 years to build the Bulletproof Body method. It's the literal A to Z method I used to get myself and my clients ripped. Now, I like to think of myself as a pretty smart dude. I have a master's degree in computer science. And it still took me 10 years of trial and error to get the physique you're looking at today. Now, I could have cut my curve by 8 years if I just did the program I created, because my program is 10 years of trial and error minus the error. It's just 10 years to 3 months. Even a complete idiot could do in 1 year what it took me to do 10. An idiot. All you got to do is follow the systems. Just do the systems. Get curious about what you love. What are the foods you enjoy? And we go from there. Imagine the missed opportunities you've been missing out on by making it hard on yourself. Now, I'm not going to let that happen to you, okay? I'm too busy, though. Let's look at Brendan's schedule, right? It didn't make sense for us to take the foods this guy loves out of his life. That would be terrible. That would be cruel. It would be stupid to add gym workouts to a busy schedule. Imagine, if you did that, you'd be hungry, you'd be fatigued. Brendan would have done it maybe for 2 weeks off sheer willpower, and then he would have eventually said, screw it, this is crazy. I can't see myself doing this the rest of my life. The Bulletproof Body method maximizes efficiency because we're focused on output, effective workouts. It's about doing it short. And this is what fits perfectly into busy schedules. The idea that getting in shape is linked to time. Do you really believe that? Like, if you believe that, then you've never done anything you should be proud of in your life. If you've done anything that you're proud of in your life, you know it's not about doing a lot for many hours. It's about doing the few things consistently that really achieve mastery. So, more time doesn't equal more shape. And Brendan is the perfect example of that. Look, he got a great physique with a crazy schedule. The bulletproof body method. A bunch of more text. I don't care. I'm kind of in this mood. Let me just tell you this. When people don't get in great shape, here's the first mistake everyone makes. They're not looking the way they want. Brandon was working with a personal trainer for 2 years. He was unhappy with the results, yet everyone looks for in-person personal trainers. Why? Let me ask you a couple of questions and let's see if the answers blow your mind. 99% of you are going to get this wrong. First, what's a personal trainer for? And what's a personal trainer being paid for? Getting you in great shape, right? No. A personal trainer is there to help you feel reassured when you're at the gym lifting weights. He pressures you to show up, so you show up more often to the gym. Okay, great. You're showing up more often to the gym. Are you happy with how you look? When you realize that what you want, which is to look great, and lifting better at the gym, those are just two different things. Now, if you're a personal trainer and you want to you charge per hour, right? Well, then what are you going to do? If you're a personal trainer, you are going to charge someone for the most amount of hours possible to get them the least amount of results so they work with you as long as possible. Because here's what happens. What do you think you're going to do when you get the dream body and it's easy? Do you need a trainer anymore? No. So they're just incentivized differently. Now, what about me? Am I not a trainer? No, I'm not. I'm a coach. My job as a coach is to help people get the result. So the incentive is very different. Yes, it's about getting in shape. But what I do is I charge for one result, one price. So there's no fees, there's no memberships. So at the end, when you get the result, here's how I make my money. You ready? When you transform, people are going to ask you, what the hell did you do? You look insane. And then you can say, hey, yeah, go to this guy, Iman. That's where 80% of my business comes from. Just word of mouth. Works very well. And then for the other 20%, if someone just notices and they say, wait, what the hell did you do? Either it's a referral directly from the client or someone just asks and then they pass it on. So just make sure when you're working with someone, the incentives are aligned, right? And as long as the incentives are aligned, you got yourself a team. Move forward, baby. Okay. Now, there's a lot of different bodies. There's so many different transformations you can do. Specifically in the bulletproof body method, we focus on the triangle. All right? The inverted triangle, skinny waist, big shoulders, big arms, big chest, big back, small waist. It's the V taper. Now, we're going to break that into two different phases, very specifically, and I'm going to do it right now. All right, the pre-phase. We're going to do a schedule audit. I found a large amount of Brendan's time was saying yes to everyone else but himself. Think about it. How much do you actually take care of yourself? This is all serving other people, meetings, appointments. It's a bunch of nonsense. Why are you going to focus on yourself? How many hours do you actually spend becoming the man you've always dreamt of? You're spending 60 hours a week, Brendan, managing 2 companies. You're going on business trips. You're attending family dinners. 30 minutes a day was all Brendan had for himself. Except Brendan knew it was important to get in shape, to change his life. Thing is, Brendan didn't know he was serving people this much until we did the audit. Why? Because every guy likes to think they're in control. They're not. They're not. How can you tell? Look down. Are you happy with what you see? So, Brendan's fear was saying no to other things and changing his lifestyle. Now, one of the fun things about the bulletproof body method is how do you actually get the results you want without giving up your obligations? So we fit his system into his dynamic schedule, and we did this in 2 weeks. This is what formed the blueprint to help Brendan break past his fat loss plateaus and shed up to 2 pounds of fat every single week, eating the foods he was already eating. Okay. And you know what's so crazy? When Brendan actually got the results, you know what his biggest fear was? His biggest fear wasn't saying no to people. It was saying no to people and not having the results to show for it, right? But once we integrated his favorite foods, his social life, and his personal me time, he was able to see results beyond his wildest dreams. And because of that, he finally had the confidence to lean on the results as the reasons to actually make the decisions he wanted to make. In that case, he wasn't at the effect of his calendar, right? He started to change his life to align with what he wanted. And in the process, he got record months at work. He hit it off with the girl at the gym. I'll tell you more about that story a little later. But people actually started respecting him more. And his coworkers started asking, hey, how'd you do it, man? It's about the ripple effect. So a lot of chubby, skinny fat men go on a bulk because they read it online. This literally just leads to you becoming more fat, right? The more fat you have, the harder it is to build muscle. Your body's less efficient. Now, what we had to do is we had to lose the fat in the stomach area. Now, how do you want to do that? So how do we do that? How do we lose 20 pounds of fat when you're so busy? Well, listen, everyone needs to eat. 15 hours a day are eating. Only go to the gym 1 hour a day. So then it's nutrition. But that's actually where most people go wrong. They either starve themselves, which they can only keep up for a month or two before going back to their old habits, or they eat like trash. And then they hope to outwork the bad diet in an hour. Listen, neither strategy works. Okay? You can eat 1,000 calories of Haagen-Dazs ice cream in 5 minutes, and then it takes you 5 hours to burn it off. It's unsustainable. You're not going to win that game, right? And eventually, if you box yourself in and you're restrictive, you're going to want out, right? If you don't feel like you have access to the foods that you love, you're going to fight yourself. And when you fight yourself, you use your own energy that otherwise could be used for productive things to fight yourself and eventually convince yourself you can't do this anymore. And all of a sudden, you're back to where you started. But hey, it's not about eating healthy, traditional foods compared to popular belief. You can get in great shape eating foods that taste like your favorite junk foods. That's a little secret. And you can also get overweight if you just eat healthy. Why is that? Well, how does a guy like this lose 30 pounds eating Twinkies? How does this guy lose 56 pounds eating McDonald's? And yet you haven't been able to lose any weight? Why? Once you know how to make food work for you, no food is off limits. Listen, people say eat less. That doesn't mean eat less food. That means eat less fat. If you increase the protein, nothing's stopping you from making high protein crispy orange chicken, high protein spicy chicken wrap, or a macro friendly burger. That's exactly what we did with Brendan. And most people say you can only lose fat or gain muscle. But if you actually get your nutrition just right, you can actually do both at the same time. And that's the only way you can get a physique like this. It is the only way. So here's some of Brendan's macros to lose 2 pounds of fat and pack on lean muscle. 2,150 calories, 185 grams of protein, 175 grams of carbs, and 40 grams of fat. This was the perfect amount so that Brendan had enough protein to pack on muscle, but also enough of a deficit to lose the fat. Doing them at the same time is the gold standard. And that's as good as it gets. That's the only way I can guarantee you're going to look like this in under 90 days. You can't just lose fat or just gain muscle. Now, how do you make it fun? How do you make food sustainable? One of Brandon's favorite meals was this bomb protein pasta. 250 grams of chicken, 150 grams of lentils, pasta, and 40 grams of fat-free cheese. Brendan didn't even realize it, but this is where we get sneaky with it. The meal had 100 grams of protein in it. So imagine I tell you, you didn't hit your protein goals today. Did you eat your pasta? Did you? And then you say, oh no, I forgot to eat my pasta. So it's about having the diet work for us. It's about having fun with it, right? Now, nutrition on autopilot. Brendan was wasting time going out to restaurants, ordering stuff, ordering Postmates, because he wanted to eat now, but then he had to wait. He had to either go to the store, wait for it to get delivered, pay the service fee, pay the delivery fee. It cost a lot and it took a lot of time. But when I set him up with a local meal prep service, this was just an example of how I did it in Brendan's life. I realized what Brendan really wanted was he wanted convenience. And so we can be more convenient by setting him up with a local meal prep service delivered right to his door and his office every single day. They were delicious. They saved him 5 hours a week. And Brendan never had to start thinking about, hey, what do I eat? When do I eat? How much do I eat? Brendan was bulletproof. In the nutrition category, he was set. All he needed to do was spend 5 minutes a week ordering the food. And when he wanted to eat it, it was already next to him so he could heat it up. How easy would your life be? Literally, just take a second and say, if I didn't have to worry about food, How much more time would I have? How much more energy would I have? What would I be able to focus on that I never was able to? Because every time I get focused, I get hungry and I have to go think about what I got to eat. The problem with diets, I hate the word diets because it's temporary. You have to make the process of getting in shape easy and fun. This is what the Bulletproof Body Method is about. When people go on diets, the data shows, and everyone, 95% of people fall back into their old habits. And here's the thing, we don't have a lot of time, right? You think life's a long thing. By our mid-20s, our health starts degrading. Our age makes things harder. Our energy levels decrease. Testosterone decreases. Our hangovers get worse. Have you noticed? So time is of the essence. If you wait 5 more years, it's just going to be harder. So do it in 90 days, goddammit. And that will give you the ripple effect. If I didn't get out of my negative cycles at work, I'd still be working my job. I wouldn't be a coach. I would hate my life because every day I was working over hours, feeling behind, coming home fatigued, binge eating on food, feeling low energy, only to repeat it. Listen, it hurts me knowing how many guys are stuck in the same negative cycle they were 10 years ago. It pains me because you're going to stay there unless you do something different. And so then the best they do is they live a life where they hide what they're ashamed of with baggy clothes. They hide from the world. And in the process, they don't feel to connect with the world. And that makes them feel lonely, overwhelmed, and tired. Think about how different your life could be when you can take your shirt off and finally be like, hey, everyone, check me out. How's everyone doing? Oh, you see these? Oh, damn. Look at these bad boys. 6-pack. Energy, confidence, you get the dream partner you want. Man, we all know the negative cycle though. Let's go back. Let's go back to the negative cycle. We need to work through that a bit more. You got the guilt. Wait, first of all, you're hungry. You restricted your favorite foods, right? Remember all those things you loved? You took them out because in a diet, you can't eat your favorite foods. But then you get a craving. You get a craving and you have willpower for week 1, week 2. Eventually, you give in. That generates guilt. Guilt makes you feel bad about yourself. When you feel bad about yourself, you're not empowered, so you don't go to the gym. When you don't go to the gym, you gain the weight back. And when you gain the weight back, you realize, oh no, I know where this is going. I've been here before. And you give up. And then when you give up, you're back to where you started. But here's what's even worse. When you get back to where you started, you're not the way you started. You're worse. Because this time, you add one to the tally of excuses about why you're not good enough. About why you have a genetic problem, why you might have a bad metabolism. You try to create the excuses to keep you stuck in the negative cycle. Now with Brendan, we actually changed that. Let me tell you why. We did a thing called carb cycling, because if you realize, cravings are a natural part of humanity. It's just who you are. So, are you going to avoid cravings? Or are you going to use cravings and have a plan of attack? Like, what are you going to do? Are you really are you stupid? Like, having cravings is what being a human's all about. So are you going to build a plan expecting not to have cravings? Or is it better to build a plan knowing you're going to have a craving and then planning for the craving? And actually saying, okay, if I'm going to have a craving, how do I get the most out of the craving? So let me tell you what we did with Brendan. Great question. Carb cycling. This is our secret solution to using cravings for our advantage. See, at week 4, Brendan started losing fat so consistently, we introduced carb cycling, and it was actually to trick his metabolism to keep burning fat. Because normally, once you start losing fat, it becomes harder to keep losing fat. But when we actually scheduled his cheat meals, his cravings to boost his performance at the gym, this is where everything changed. Brendan, he loved ice cream. He loved pizza. So I made him a delicious protein ice cream with a low amount of calories. So now he could spend his time having the social life, going out, eating, and we had his nutrition dialed. Then when he'd have the cravings, we'd use the extra carbs from the ice cream and the pizza to boost his metabolism. And then we'd immediately make sure he would get a nice workout in. That workout, he would have more fuel. He would then be able to lift more. Lifting more allowed him to build more muscle. Hitting personal records at the gym built his confidence. All while incorporating the same social hours that he had. and flexibility. So his carb days, he'd eat about 300 grams of carbs, not 150 to 175 grams. And those were the days he would hit his personal best. Funny enough, the same week he got a personal best at the gym, that was the best week in revenue for his company. So there's two things. There is negative cycles and there are positive upward cycles, right? So a craving, same thing, can either give you something you feel guilty about or empowered by, and it can either give you a negative result or it can get you more muscle, stronger, and more confidence to feel even more dialed in on the plan. And that's really what it's like. Taking the cycles of what it's like being a human and planning for them, because you're a human being, not a human doing. You are not a machine. Okay? You have emotions. Use your emotions to get the most out of it. But what about business trips? What about holidays? Brendan knew the minute he had a business trip, all his habits started to crumble. So what I did is I built him a simple workout plan. It required no equipment, so he could do it in 10 minutes in the comfort of his own home before he started the day. By doing that, he got his blood flow up, he got his mindset dialed, he knew his muscles were still growing while he was traveling, and ultimately that allowed him to have the confidence to keep eating clean. What does that look like? Well, he would tell me where he's going to travel. I would find out what are all the places that he could have his business meeting dinners and eat a quick bite. And I was basically in his corner telling him exactly what he needed to eat with healthy, accessible options that fit his traveling plans. Guys, he was making progress while traveling. So what we're doing here is we're doing scenario analysis. Every situation in Brendan's life, we were accounting for and building a good nutritional plan to keep losing the fat. And once we've taken care of every scenario of your life, every single possible situation, and we've built a contingency plan for it, now we're guaranteed to lose fat everywhere because everyone needs to eat. And what you're eating happens to cause you to lose fat. So now when you think you've done that, what do you think's next for us? Well, what's next is now you can build the muscle. Stage 2, the movie star physique. This is the most fun part. And using the Bulletproof Body method, we designed Brendan's workouts specifically to target the same big muscles Hollywood actors use. You ever look at a Hollywood actor and say, damn, that guy looks amazing. And then you ask, well, what makes him look amazing? Probably not. I did. And so I designed workouts to do exactly that because it's not about training every muscle the same. It's actually much simpler than that. Here's where most people go wrong. Most people don't take advice from these guys. Most people take advice from these guys. Conventional bodybuilder advice says lift 7 times a week, 2 hours a week, do compound lifts. That's recommended by these guys. Here's the thing, most people don't really want to look like these guys. And most of these guys don't live a very long time, unfortunately. Ronnie Coleman, greatest bodybuilder of all time, in my opinion. Guys, he's so hurt. He's like crippled. He can't walk right. He's weak. It's really, really sad to see. So what do you want? You want a different physique. You want a lean, a powerful, a healthy physique. You want a physique that ladies cannot take their eyes off. That's Ryan Gosling. That's Jason Statham. These are the alpha dogs. And I'm going to tell you the exact muscles we use in the Bulletproof Body program to achieve this, which is a 0.1% physique, by the way, and how to do it in half the time. All right. The holy grail that we all want, especially if we're busy, is a 30-minute workout. That'd be nice, right? Now, most people, most ignorant people would say it's impossible to build muscle only working out 3 times a week for 30 minutes. These are the same idiots that said you can't lose fat and build muscle. Well, we already proved them wrong, right? So let's sit that person down and let me prove these people wrong. It's definitely possible. And in fact, to get any of these results in 90 days, you must do this. But how do you actually do it? Well, think of it like a pyramid. It's something that you earn. It's not just something you automatically do. And there's a few prerequisites, a few stacks, layers that you have to make sure you do properly. And as a reward, you achieve the 30-minute workout. And that's something you can keep for the rest of your life, right? You ever see someone at the gym that go in and out and they have a great physique? Well, that's because they're doing all these 3 things right. Form, is balanced. They're picking the right exercises to build the right amount of muscle, and they're lifting with that perfect amount of intensity that's not too intense, that's impacting their energy and their mood for the rest of the day, getting in the way of their work and their relationships, but also not intense enough so they can actually put on muscle properly, right? Okay, so let's dive into it with Brendan, shall we? First, if you build muscle too quickly, if you lift weights too quickly without proper form, it's just like driving an F1 Formula car, right? Without having the driver's lessons. All of a sudden, you're in a car that can go 200 miles an hour. You love it, you're excited, but if you don't have the skills to handle this thing, you're literally a crash waiting to happen. And here's the sad thing about a crash. It's not a video game. This is life. So you don't get a do-over. So not only do you not lose you lose the car, you're $1 million down, but you're so traumatized by the crash, you never want to drive again. The same thing happens in the gym. I see so many dudes walking around with a lower back injury, and then for the rest of their life, they hold back when they're at the gym. They don't go 100% because if they go 100%, they're going to get a lower back injury. So it just hangs over your head your whole life. You see it all the time. So once again, remember, our timeline is very different in the Bulletproof Body Method. If we want to have a 90-day life-transforming body, we got to prioritize injury avoidance at all costs. We have to lift properly. And with Brendan, that's exactly what was happening. He kept getting lower back injuries, even though he had an in-person trainer. Crazy. From heavy compound lifts. He was scared and he was hesitant to go full intensity. And then he was wondering why he's not building muscle. Well, it's because you're not going hard, bro. Why were you not going hard? Because you got an injury. Why'd you get an injury? Because you didn't have the right form. So the first thing we did with Brendan in the Bulletproof Body Method was we replaced most of the high-risk exercises like deadlifts and squats, the things that all the bodybuilders recommend, with safe machine alternatives. The hack squat. We got the Smith machine deadlift. Amazing exercises that feel so good. And so Brendan was able to load a ton of weight on these exercises, but he also eliminated the risk of injury because the bar path was smooth and controlled. And if he ever lifted too much weight, he could immediately, if he was ever losing control, lock it into the machine. So he never felt like the weight was going to fall on him, right? And that allowed him to train harder. And he was actually training to failure. That's actually the key to getting the right form. And we've checked the first box off on our road to 30-minute workouts to become the most attractive, confident, and energetic self in as little as 90 days. All right, let's go to the next one. Exercise selection. Getting stronger, though, let me just pause for a sec. Getting stronger doesn't mean more muscles. Another myth I am destroying with you guys, all right? If getting stronger was building more muscles, well, then you would have muscles. But you don't, and you've been getting stronger. I know that. Go to the gym, keep lifting, you will get stronger. So you're not looking any different. When I was talking to Brendan, he was working with a personal trainer for 2 years, spending 7 or more hours in the gym every week. And he wasn't seeing the developments in the mirror. And guess what it was doing? It was chipping away his confidence. Brendan's starting to feel like something was wrong with him. I'm doing everything right. You ever been there? And so because you're not seeing results, you get demotivated. And what do you think is the first thing Brendan did when he had a super busy week at work? He cut the gym time. What's the point? I got better things to do. If I'm not getting what I thought I'd get from the gym, well, I'm wasting my money with this personal trainer. I'm wasting my time going to the gym. So I'm just not going to do it. And then Brendan went back to the old cycle of life. And you already know what happens from there. Yes, gaining muscle and strength are related, but building muscle scientifically is about fatiguing your muscle to the point where you actually grow it in size. Building strength is about improving your nervous system, communicating to recruit the muscle fibers to lift more weight. You can't see an improved nervous system in the mirror. No one cares about your nervous system when you take your shirt off. They notice bigger muscles. So training for size and training for strength are different. Now, before applying the Bulletproof Body Method, Brendan didn't have a movie star physique because he wasn't training the right muscles. If you want to look like a movie star, you need to train like a movie star. This is one of the coolest things all movie stars have in common. You definitely didn't know this. There's a thing called a V-taper, high top, skinny waist, right? We all know about it. But there's actually a concept known as the golden ratio. It's a 1.618 ratio from your shoulders to your waist that really emphasizes this illusion that you're much bigger than you actually are, right? So how do we actually do that? Well, we got to make sure we don't have a lopsided physique. You see, worst thing that you can have is if you don't use your superpowers to your advantage. Right? Some people have an easy time growing the biceps, but a hard time growing the back, right? Others might have it the other way around. So instead of using your genetics to your advantage, most people end up creating an imbalanced physique. And that's terrible because they're putting too much or too little emphasis on muscles. The Bulletproof Body method makes it so that you use your genetics to your advantage to actually build the physique you want with the least amount of work. So Brendan had a shoulder imbalance problem. When I saw this, I saw the potential. I said, you got big arms, but no one can tell you got big shoulders. So you're leaving a lot of room on the table. Normally, having big arms is amazing, but it was actually hurting the way he looked because it was overpowering his shoulders. So we need to actually bring his shoulders out to really emphasize the golden ratio. What did we do? We focus on lateral raises of both kinds. Dumbbell lateral raises to really build the side of the shoulders, and cable lateral raises to get that squeeze at the bottom and the stretch at the top. So this is really what created that illusion for Brendan, and it gave him that aesthetic physique. Look, you can actually see the shadow of his shoulder against the sun. This is nothing that you could see before. It was all just one blur. It was a tree stump of an arm. But now you're starting to really build the shoulders. So now shoulders are complete. Let's move on to that massive V taper, right? Brendan wanted to have that presence in a room. He was going to these conferences all the time with hundreds of people. He wanted to be able to be recognized from behind. And so to do that, people talk about the back all the time. They don't realize, no. If you want a big back, what you mean is you want big lats. It's the wings. It creates that width for the V taper. Now, people were saying I was training my lats too much. I would argue the opposite. I think it's the only reason I get as many clients as I do, because people want this. Now, Brendan, month 2 was a massive win because once we got his back so big, that's exactly what happened. His friends saw him, his coworkers spotted him from a crowd and said, I could literally recognize you from how your back looked. So we did lat pull downs. We did pull-ups. These were the ways to build a very thick lat as part of the back. Then 6-packs. You don't got to do hours of abs. In fact, all you got to do is 5 minutes of them. Abs are the universal symbol of fitness. And did you know that there are less people in the US that have abs than are millionaires? So think about it. This is how I see it. If you have abs and you're a millionaire, you're in the top 0.01% of people on the planet, right? So even if you're skinny, abs automatically make you look in shape. To have abs, we usually need a body fat percentage below 15%. Now visualize yourself in the mirror, right? See yourself with a 6-pack. What would that be like? Where you're not having all this fat hanging off your stomach. You literally grab your abs and you just feel the ridges of each of your 6-packs. You feel more athletic. You got a confidence boost. Just knowing you can take your shirt off at any point like this, man. It's like the modern Western cowboy. Pulling out your guns. We focus on lower abs and had him do a 5-minute circuit. He could do this in the comfort of his home when he's traveling and there was no equipment. Mountain climbers, jackknives, reverse crunches, and Russian twists. This is where we focus on all the abs, but even in particular, those lower abs, the harder ones. All right, guys, you want to know the ultimate skincare routine? Burn fat. Jawline. See, it's one of the most overlooked parts. You can put a baggy shirt over a fat body, but you can't put a bag on your face, especially if you're a business professional, right? But everyone wants that defined jawline. All you got to do is lose fat. When you lose the fat, your jawline shows. This is me on the left. Can you believe that? Same dude on the right. Only difference, 25 pounds down. That's it. And you just look way more attractive. Now, on the right is a photo of a boy. On the left is a photo of Channing Tatum. The only difference is their neck. This is one of the last muscles, one of the most underrated muscles. It looks weird, but the neck is actually what gives you that masculine look. Tom Hardy as well. The traps and the neck. Did you know Tom Hardy's only 5'9"? He looks so big because he's so upper trap and neck defined. So with Brendan, we made sure to do the exact same thing. How do we focus on getting the neck width high? And how do we also make sure his traps grow as well? So it's this kind of like football look, there's like, I'm a big dude, right? And so all of a sudden we got the neck aligned, we got the traps aligned. Now we have the shoulder aligned. We create the shoulder separation right there. Oh, it's so beautiful. So we got the upper body. Remember that V taper, the golden ratio? We've done the golden ratio at the top. Now, what about the bottom? The last part is the waist. The best way to look top heavy is to look skinnier at the bottom. All right? How do you do that? We did that in the previous phase, nutrition. So just by losing fat consistently, you're going to have the waist go in. And just by lifting these muscles at the top, you're going to build out the muscles at the top. And that's the golden ratio. Now, we're almost there, guys. Exercise selection's done. Form selection's done. What about intensity? Let me ask you guys a question. You ever lift very hard, get super exhausted, need to drink a coffee just to get through the day, and then end up training completely different muscles and never looking any different? All right? Everyone talks about training to failure and going hard. But before you train to failure, you first got to make sure, are you even training the right muscles? Like, think about it like a magnifying glass. You got the power to the sun. It's always there. Think about this like your own internal potential, right? Your energy. And if you just randomly apply that energy, it's like the magnifying glass on the sun, kind of just warm on your hand. But when you focus that energy just perfectly, you can start a forest fire. The same thing with building your muscles. So how do you know if you're doing the same thing? First of all, a lot of noobs, new people, don't know how to gauge the back muscles in a pull-up. So the arms end up doing all the work. And because you're lifting the wrong muscles and lifting them consistently, months later, you're wondering why your back doesn't look any different. So this is what was happening to Brendan. On top of that, what was worse is he was getting so exhausted after his workouts that weren't even giving him muscles for the rest of the day, so he couldn't even focus on work. And what we discovered is Brendan was doing so many compound exercises: squat, bench press, deadlift. Those are the exercises that professional bodybuilders swear by. Remember though, bodybuilders are those that can work all day and they can sleep all night. Brendan is not a bodybuilder. Brendan's a CTO. So compound movements were taxing to the nervous system. One of the biggest things about recovery is actually not the muscle, it's your nervous system. So your neurons are firing to execute your workout, but they're getting more tired than the actual muscles that you need to use, right? And so because of that, your nervous system becomes the bottleneck. So even though your workouts feel very intense, even though you get a good sweat, what happens is your nervous system is exhausted. You're not building muscle. And then you get exhausted the rest of the day, you get shitty sleep, and then you're not actually gaining it. So intensity and muscle building, there's that sweet spot. We got to find the perfect intersection between it. And when you find that sweet intersection, you're not working out as long, you're building more muscle, and you have more energy to conquer the rest of the day. So what we did is we switched a lot of compound exercises to more isolation exercises. This allowed Brendan to actually focus on the muscles he needed to look like the golden ratio. Remember, golden ratio is not about all the muscles. It's about just the muscles you want to train. Lateral raises for shoulders, shrugs for traps, seated cable rows, and Smith machine rows for the back. This was easy for the nervous system because he wasn't as fatigued. And when Brendan was lifting 185 pounds on bench, he loved the bench, so he still kept doing it just because he enjoyed it. In week 4, he went from 185 to 225. And by week 8, Brendan was lifting more reps at 225 than he was at 185 8 weeks ago. And it was because he was lifting with the right level of intensity, not burning himself out, not doing too much. And who would have thought? Who would have thought? When I got this text from Brendan, it was a really funny situation because the story at the gym was, there was a story where Brendan was trying to set a bench press record, but he needed some extra encouragement. So he was feeling super confident. This was like week 7. So he's already crushing it. He goes and he uses this as the excuse to finally ask the hot girl at the gym, hey, can I work out? Can I have a spot? And so when he had the spot from the girl, that was the confidence he needed to break his record. And when he broke the record, when she introduced herself, she was so impressed and asked for his number. And later that week, that same confidence, he had a big tech conference. He did a killer product demo, and his company had their biggest revenue ever. So it was just like, it was an amazing ripple effect where like he did one thing that led to the next great thing and the next great thing. Another great example of a positive upward cycle. And it's like, you're getting great results in the gym, but you're really having a great life. That's when you know you're transformed. People were paying more attention than ever before. So this is all to say, this is an example of what's possible in 90 days. Not 10 years, not 15 years. You already know what's possible in that when you're stuck in a negative cycle. But when you realize in 90 days, you can do something like this, you can go from someone that smiles because they're drunk to chilling and smug because you got abs. Imagine just waking up every day, feeling invigorated. You're ready to tackle the world. This was Brendan's reality after he integrated the bulletproof body method into his lifestyle, right? Brendan no longer felt sluggish. He no longer was unmotivated to go to the gym. Instead, Brendan was excited to go to the gym. He was excited to wake up. He was excited for tomorrow because he knew tomorrow was going to be even better than today. When you can live your life every day knowing you're going to be more ripped, you're going to have more energy, more confidence, you're going to do ballsy shit. You're going to be confident. And that ballsy shit, that is the life you want to live. You want to have the confidence to take risks. And funny enough, no one's taking risks. Have you noticed? Everyone's so scared. So when you take risks, you get to have the best part of life, which is just an exciting life. Great confidence, great dating. And the best part about all this is it's a 90-day transformation. But it's been over a year since Brendan completed the 90-day transformation, and he's been able to coast with a physique like this the entire time. At the end of the 90 days when we finished, though, I asked Brendan, hey, what would you say to the previous version of yourself when you started this program? And he literally told me, if you can't do something as simple as this and straightforward, don't even think about starting a business. That was way harder. So now that you understand exactly how the Bulletproof Body Method works, I have an offer for you. At the beginning of this video, I said this was going to be one of the most powerful videos you've ever seen when it comes to fitness transformations. Now, for some of you, simply implementing the methods I talked about in this video, that's enough to give you the most amazing transformation. But for some of you that want the results right now, in under 90 days, those of you that know you're meant for more, that are pissed off staying in the same place, pissed off you're seeing others having amazing results and saying, why the hell not me? Why? For those of you that know it's your time and you know you're so far from your potential and you want to look great with your shirt off, you want to have a great dating life, you want to have a great confidence at work, you want to have that ripple effect, and you know that this conversation, this physique is the spark that's going to create that. Those of you that want to lose up to 30 pounds of fat, you want to build a strong and athletic physique to unleash your most attractive, confident, and energetic self using the Bulletproof Body Method, and have me personally coach you one-on-one and show you how to keep this body for life. You can go ahead and book a call with me or my coaching team down below, and we'll see if you're a good fit for the team. Hundreds of guys like you have literally gone through the exact same process, and they're living the life of their dreams in the body they've always wanted. That's what they're doing right now. So the only question I want to leave you with today is, are you the main character of the life you've always wanted? All right. See you guys later. Bye.